In just under 24 hours, voters in Florida head to the polls to decide which Republican they want to see in the White House. And this morning, it appears Mitt Romney has the edge after a new poll shows him with a double-digit lead over Newt Gingrich. Joining us with the latest now is Ambreen Ali, staff writer with Roll Call. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So we kind of alluded to it there, but what is the headline heading into Florida tomorrow?
So Mitt Romney, by most polls, is double digits ahead of Newt Gingrich. So most people are expecting him to take the primary tomorrow. There's already about 500,000 absentee ballots that have been put in. So I think the polls are a good indicator of where this primary is going. So a lot of people are looking beyond Florida at this point. The question is, can Newt Gingrich stay in the game? You know, what happens with Rick Santorum? He had to cut off his campaign events short this weekend because his daughter is sick. And it's very possible if Santorum drops out, endorses Gingrich, that could give him some sort of surge and allow him to kind of catch up with Romney. But Romney's really going to take off with this after this. He's got a lot of momentum on his side if he takes Florida.
It really seemed, though, that Newt Gingrich was gaining a whole lot of popularity, at least when we saw it in South Carolina. What happens in between what it seems like just days between these primaries and caucuses, these different contests? What happens that the front runner then becomes the one behind the front runner all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's a very interesting primary season for that reason. I think you have to remember each state is very, very different. And so the voters in South Carolina, I think because Gingrich is from Georgia, they have a lot of kind of affinity or kind of affiliation with him in a way that Florida voters don't. Florida is a very different state. You know, there's a huge Hispanic population. It's kind of a different beast, if you will, and that's why you're seeing such differences among the primaries.
So interesting. Let's talk about that Latino voting bloc there. But Florida is a very interesting state, though. Like it would be a different story in Miami versus you know, Jacksonville. It's sort of an interesting big old state. What do these candidates need to do to let the Hispanic population, I guess, feel comfortable? Because even within the Hispanic population, not everybody agrees on immigration within that voting bloc. What needs to happen here to get the voters?
Yeah, and Florida has a huge Cuban population, which it tends to lean a little bit more right of the larger Hispanic population. They have very different views on immigration than, you know, voters in Nevada who will be going to the polls pretty soon. So I think what both Romney and Gingrich have tried to do is align themselves with Cuban American leaders in Florida, try and get, you know, some of the members of Congress who are from that, representing that delegation, to get them to support them. Romney's been really good about that. And they both have Spanish language ads out. You know, they're trying to reach out into those communities and say, hey, I represent your views. And ultimately, I think regardless of who you are in Florida, you're most worried about jobs. You're worried about the foreclosures that have hit that state pretty hard. And so voters are looking for the candidate who's going to solve those issues.
On immigration, we've heard recently Mitt Romney talk about the fact that his father was born in Mexico. Does that come across a bit disingenuous? He was there in basically as a missionary in a missionary camp. What do voters think about this line?
I think it's very clever of Romney. The Mexican connection was, I think it was out in the news a few weeks ago, and Romney was sort of ignoring it, not really discussing it. And it's really smart of him when he's in Florida to kind of pull on those roots and say, hey, you know, I've got this connection as well. You know, I don't think it hurts him. I think that he, like I said, the polls are really showing that he's doing really well. He's aligned himself with the right people. He's even had Senator Marco Rubio, who's very popular, both with the Cuban population and the Tea Parties in Florida. He's had him sort of show some sort of support for Romney. So I think Romney's in a good position going into tomorrow.
All right. We will see. Just basically 24 hours away now. This is Ambreen Ali, staff writer with Roll Call. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Tony, over to you.